Welcome to Session 2 of the Catch My Breath Vaping Prevention Program. In our second session, we're going to talk about how to make choices that feel good to you and keep you on the path you want to be on. Sometimes it might feel like from the news and talking to friends that just everybody is vaping. But is that really true? Open up your worksheet for Session 2, and I want you to guess what percentage of middle school students have smoked e-cigarettes or vapes in the past 30 days, and what percentage of high school students have smoked e-cigarettes or vapes in the past 30 days. And these are national statistics. So in the United States, what percentage of middle schoolers and what percentage of high school students have vaped in the past 30 days? So go ahead and pause this video and jot down your best guess. Well, the reality might surprise you. In the United States, in the past 30 days, in 2020, 19.6% of high school students and only 4.7% of middle school students have vaped. What this number tells us is that the vast majority of students are not vaping. In high school, 80% did not vape in the past 30 days. In middle school, 95% did not vape. So the companies work really hard to make it seem as though everybody is doing it, but the reality, thankfully, is that is not true. Let's talk about addiction. What does the word addiction mean to you? Well, the definition of addiction is the loss of control that causes you to need a substance in order to feel okay. So if you have never vaped or smoked or used any kind of tobacco product, your body is not addicted to nicotine. It does not rely on it in order for you to feel okay. However, somebody who vapes or smokes or uses other tobacco products regularly will need more and more of it in order to just feel normal. E-cigarettes are designed to get you addicted to nicotine, even with just a few uses. So sometimes students will say to me, well, I only vape every once in a while. Well, that's still a risk because, as we saw in our last session, the nicotine levels are so high that it just really does not take very many times before somebody can become addicted. Now, not everybody does in the first few times, but where the risk comes in is you don't know how your body will respond. How do you feel about the possibility of becoming addicted to something? Does that make you feel uncomfortable? Do you not care? Have you ever really thought about that? About how you would feel if you knew that in order to feel normal, you needed to use a certain substance? Now let's think about what is more addictive. On your worksheet, I want you to write down your guess. Do you think nicotine is more addictive or caffeine, which is the drug that's in coffee? How about nicotine and alcohol? Do you think somebody gets hooked more easily on nicotine or from the alcohol that's in beer and wine and mixed drinks? What about nicotine and morphine? Morphine is a painkiller that's used in hospitals. Well, this chart shows us how addictive something is. So on the left-hand side, on the y-axis, which is going from the bottom up, it talks about whether something is low in the addiction rate or high in the addiction rate. And then along the bottom, it talks about how much of this you need in order to start being addicted. Now, what's interesting when you look at this, the only thing that is more addictive than nicotine is heroin, which is a drug that somebody injects into their body. Everything else is less addictive. So cocaine, alcohol, marijuana, all of those drugs are less addictive. Now, that doesn't mean that they're good for you, but you're not going to get addicted as quickly as you are with nicotine. You can also see that it does not take very much in order to become addicted. Now let's look at activity 1. Why do it? Go ahead and pause this video and write your best guess for why kids your age might experiment with e-cigarettes, and what are some positive things kids your age can do instead of using e-cigarettes. So go ahead and pause and answer on your worksheet. Well, here are some reasons that somebody might try an e-cigarette. And here are some positive alternatives. So maybe their friends are vaping. Well, just because your friends are doing it doesn't mean you need to too. You can be yourself. In fact, you can help educate your friends on what some of the harm risks are with vaping. They maybe don't know. From talking with high school students, usually somebody who's vaping regularly knows that there are risks to it, but by that point they're already addicted. What if you have family members who smoke or vape? Again, it's perfectly fine to educate them and to share your concerns with them. But remember that adults have the right to make the choices that they want to, and so you don't want to be bossy about it or mean or rude about it. It's much more effective to just share your concerns. Another reason that somebody might try them is because of the flavors. They smell good, they look good. There's lots of things you can get good flavors from. Smoothies, candy even. Obviously candy's not great for our health, but it's a lot better than vaping. Some students are just curious. Well, an alternative to that is to ask a lot of questions about it, research it, get the facts. Maybe their reason is that it's less harmful than cigarettes. In this case, you can help them understand that they may be less harmful, but they are still very harmful to our bodies. Now we're going to go on to activity 2. So whenever you're learning about a topic that's connected to your health, whether it's vaping, alcohol use, things like that, there are really 2 important things for you to know. One is the information, which we have already shared with you. The second are skills, so that if you don't want to use these things, you have the skills to make that happen easily for you. So what are some ways that someone could refuse an offer to try an e-cigarette? So on your worksheet, you have 2 different scenarios in which somebody could ask you to vape with them. And I want you to look at some examples of how you can say no or how you can refuse that situation. So sometimes just a simple, no thanks, I'm good, is all you need to do. But sometimes our friends can be kind of pushy about it. They may know on one hand that it's not great for them, and so maybe they want you to do it too so they don't feel as badly about it. It's like if we're eating cookies, sometimes we feel, if we've had a lot of them and are maybe starting to feel a little guilty that we've had so many, we feel better if somebody's eating cookies with us. Well, it's the same situation here. Sometimes we want our friends to do it too. But just saying, nope, I'm good. Also, hanging out with people who share your values. If you're hanging out with people who vape all the time, it can be a lot harder than if you aren't. You can suggest something else to do. Hey, let's go for a walk instead, or let's watch a movie instead. You can give a reason for not wanting to. No, I just learned about it. It's really not good for us. I don't want to be addicted to something. You can use humor. I actually have always told my daughters that they can always blame me. If somebody offers them something they don't want to do, they could say, my mom would kill me. I can't. I'm sorry. So go ahead and complete the second activity on your worksheet, where you give some ways that you could refuse in the situations that are presented. So knowledge can be powerful. You're going to be faced with a lot of choices as you get into high school and become older. So it's really good to sort of think ahead of time about what those situations might be, how you might respond, and also to have factual information. Sometimes our peers or classmates will tell us information that's just not true. And so these programs, these sessions are educating you, so you will know what it is you're deciding when faced with these choices. You can see there's a lot of misinformation out there. Approximately 2 in 5 kids your age don't think that e-cigarettes or vaping is harmful. Well, you've already learned that's simply not true. Over 50% of kids your age don't think there is nicotine in flavored e-cigarettes. I've heard that one many times, like, no, I don't vape nicotine, I just do the water vapor. Well, even the e-cigarettes that don't have nicotine still have a ton of chemicals, as we've learned, that are really bad for our health. But the reality is most of them do have nicotine. Sharing information is a better strategy than being mean or putting someone down because of their vaping or e-cigarette use. So getting angry at your friend because they're vaping probably isn't going to be very effective. But sharing what you've learned here will have a better result. Ultimately, though, we all have our own choices to make, and you need to make the choices that are best for you. Our third activity in this session is to interview an adult. So it can be your mom, your dad, a grown-up that you live with, a relative. But on your worksheet, you have some questions to ask them about what it was like when they were your age. Did they ever feel pressured to smoke cigarettes? Most likely vapes weren't around when they were your age, but I would be willing to bet they had the experience of being around somebody smoking and having to make that decision for themselves on whether or not they're going to do it. So please go ahead and find an adult to interview and ask them the questions on your worksheet. That brings us to the end of session 2. On our next session, we're going to be learning all about advertising and the strategies that the industry takes in order to try to get you to become their next customer. Thanks so much, and I look forward to talking to you next time.